up, Leafs fans? Welcome back to Leafs Digest. Last time we talked to you guys, we were breaking down the expansion draft, kind of Leafs losing Jared McCann and what that meant in terms of who we protected, what we gave up, what we missed out on in that kind of circumstance. There was a lot of things left undetermined about this roster moving forward, and we still had yet to see the NHL entry draft take place. But with the Leafs having minimal picks, not much going on in terms of losing an actual roster player who played for the team last year or the past few seasons, we haven't seen too much activity out of Leafland. The only real big news that's kind of come out is Zack Hyman appears to be moving on to the Edmonton Oilers. The Leafs didn't retain anything in that transaction. He's just going to walk as a free agent tomorrow on Wednesday, in the free agent frenzy. And I can't be too mad about it. I mean, the Leafs were obviously going to be looking for some very specific things from the Oilers in return, and that would be higher draft picks than the Oilers would have been willing to give up. The other thing you have to look at when it comes down to those types of scenarios is what picks do the Oilers actually have right now, because it's easy to say, oh, Zack Hyman should get a 4th round pick. Well, the Oilers might not have a 4th round pick. I'm pretty sure that the Oilers were working with like a 2nd, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, or 2 6th, then a 7th round pick. And if none of those picks seemed appealing to the Leafs, then there's no real need for them to jump on them. Yes, it's nice to be able to draft an extra player, but if they don't really appeal to you, and maybe the Oilers aren't that keen on moving on from it for that extra year, the Leafs aren't going to just fall into that pattern of just taking a pick. And that move helps Edmonton relieve some cap space because it gives them an extra year of term on Zack Hyman's deal, and it lowers the cap hit for there. Goody, quickly, what do you think about the Zack Hyman moving on kind of situation here?
Well, from our perspective, I've been really upfront about I think we can move on without Hyman, not because he isn't a great player for us, but he's going to demand too much money. And I think he's gotten overhyped playing on our top line. And again, no slander to him. He has his own role and he does it pretty good. And when it comes to playing in Edmonton, he's going to go from playing with Marner and Matthews to McDavid and potentially Leon Draisaitl. So there's going to be no shortage of top end talent for him to leech points off of out there as well. Yeah. He'll have a clear cut role that he's used to on a team like Edmonton, some Canadian choker market. He'll still be there, right? He'll be doing his typical Zack Hyman thing. So I think for Edmonton, really good. For us, I'm kind of neutral on it. Like I can say goodbye to Hyman and hello to some cap space.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you here. I can live with this move. The other thing you look at is like if they're willing to offer him that much more money than the Leafs would be in that kind of scenario, so be it. And we don't have to face him we don't have to face him that often. Yes, he's still in Canada, but there's not going to be any Canadian division next year. It appears that the divisions will be realigned to what they were pre-COVID. So it's not like we're going to be playing this guy like 6 times a year. He's not playing for the Ottawa Senators down the road. He does move over to Edmonton, and it's going to suck when he comes back to Toronto. I'm sure Leafs fans are going to show him the love and support that he deserves for what he did while he was here. But I'm not too mad about him moving on. And yeah. I am happy to see like an opportunity for some change within this lineup.
Yeah, he was awesome. Like I'm pretty hard on Hyman just because we're in a situation with our cap where you got to be super realistic. And I'm not saying he isn't worth good money, but I didn't want him to be getting a first line salary when our first line's already making that much money out the gate. It's crazy. No. So, best of luck to Zack Hyman out there in Edmonton. I think he will do really good for them.
Yeah, now I kind of just want to break down the draft here. The Leafs only had 3 picks. They didn't acquire any more picks throughout this draft. I know one thing that they've done a bunch in the past, and I know it actually resulted in them getting Travis Dermott, is you trade back. You trade 1 pick for a couple picks later on, or trade like a 1st round pick for a 2nd and a 3rd, or whatever the case may be. And specifically, I think about like the Leafs traded the pick that the Flyers ended up taking Konechny with to go back to the 2nd round to take Travis Dermott at the beginning of the 2nd round there. And that just didn't happen this year. It was going on a lot around other teams in the league on draft day, but it wasn't something that the Leafs ended up taking part in, so they stuck with their picks that they had going in here. Just quickly, in the 2nd round with the 57th overall pick, they took Matthew Knies. Goody and I are still not quite certain how to say that one. We're going to have to learn that as the Leafs podcast moving forward. But then round 5, 153rd overall, Ty Voit out of Sarnia. And round 6, 185th overall. And another name that I'm going to absolutely butcher here, so I apologize, but I'm going to do my best. Vyacheslav Peksa. I think that's like the best way that I can do it. I'm going to try to throw like a little Russian swing into that one there. But Goody, how do you feel about these 3 picks?
I really like the Knies pick because he's a guy who went point per game in the USHL last year, who's really big. He can play a power forward game, but he's not dependent on his size to get the job done. He is really skilled from what I've been reading about him. Um, I have a lot of faith in this kid, but the one thing that is a little worrisome, which might have dropped his draft stock a bit, is the fact that he's going to play for Minnesota. So if he decides to stick with them the whole way through, and I'm talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers, if he sticks with them the whole way through, obviously we're not going to get him when we want him. But the Leafs weren't looking to get a game changer this draft, anyways, especially when you combine where the team is. We're looking to contend now. The fact that we didn't really have a plethora of nice picks, like this was a second round pick. We're not looking for this guy to hop into our lineup and fix things for us. No. So to take a bit of a gamble on a player who we've really been lacking in our lineup, who can possibly come up in the future, I actually really like the pick. I think that's the right move for the Leafs. And I've read some good things about Matthew Knies. Not only is he big, but like I said, he prioritizes skill.
Yeah. Well, so specifically, this guy is 6'3", 205 pounds. He's a center/left winger. He shoots. He's a left-handed shot, and he's from Phoenix, Arizona, which is pretty cool. He actually played on that team with Josh Doan, Shane Doan's son, who was drafted to the Arizona Coyotes in this past draft. He played minor hockey with him growing up. But one thing I specifically read about this guy, which I think is pretty important here, to go along with the skill that this guy brings, as you mentioned, 42 points in 44 games in the USHL last year, 17 goals, 25 assists. But this quote from his scouting report really stood out, and that was, "First on every puck by all costs." Now, for a guy, let alone his size, but for a guy who's able to score like that, someone who is touted as going after the pucks, putting his body on the line to go and win battles, get the puck, block shots, whatever the case may be. This is something that, yes, you're right, he's not going to play next year. Maybe he's not going to play 2 years after this season. But that's something that the Leafs need in this organization, and it is important to continue to draft well. As much as we are a Leafs podcast and we're trying to break down what's happening right now, it is important to look to the future as things continue to come up here, because this team isn't going anywhere. The Leafs aren't just going to drop away after 2 years, and we're still going to have to be sitting here covering this team. But Matthew Knies, a guy 6'3", 205, who goes after every puck and can score goals, can make plays, that's pretty important for this organization. I do think it is a little bit concerning, like with the college kids who haven't yet started college. That being said, it's not like it's like uncharted territory where you nobody's ever drafted a college kid who hasn't gone and played college yet. We don't exactly know what this kid could be, and we don't know where his trajectory is going to be 2 years from now when it's time to sign him or he continues his college career. But that being said, I think it's a good pick right now because it allows us that opportunity to see him continue to grow physically and in his maturity and in his skill development. Like, we can see what he becomes as a player over these next 2 years playing against men in the NCAA.
And maybe this is a weird thing to say, but I feel like he would be a bit more encouraged to stay and sign with the Leafs, especially if he's looking good. Like, he'll have a good chance to crack the roster and be there on a decent contract. I think he does it, and partially because of the Matthews influence. Yeah, like another Phoenix kid from Arizona. Yeah, I mean, it's just so rare. It seems silly to say, right? Like, of course, he's going to be considering money first and foremost, a lot of other things. But then I think maybe third or fourth in his mind, he's going to be thinking about, sharing the ice with Austin Matthews, someone who I'm sure he's idolized, another power forward size player out of Arizona. But we know Matthews, generational talent, to play with him. I'm sure, Shane Doan was like a role model to Matthews, and to think that they'd have that connection, it'd be kind of cool. So I think that, the American hockey roots in Toronto are starting to get a little deeper here. I think that he could actually find a home with the Leafs eventually.
Yeah, so overall, I think it's a good pick. I especially like the fact that so early on in this draft, they took a guy 6'3", 205. It kind of goes not outside of the Dubas and Shanahan plan, or the Shanahan plan.
It does, man.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you deviated a little bit, and you kind of see that willingness to try something different. Obviously, it's not an immediate impact, but it's like, okay, down the road here, like, we're looking at guys who can make some kind of impact in terms of being versatile or having a diverse prospect pool here, not just full of guys who are 5 foot, 120 pounds and scored like 100 points in like a junior league somewhere. It's just a little bit of diversity within the prospect pool, which is nice to see.
Well, they fell back into place by drafting Voit. Like, that guy's like 5'9",
Yeah,
like
5'10",
100 nothing
160 pounds.
pounds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, 5'10", 160 pounds. But yeah, like a smaller guy in comparison
I think those
to.
are juiced up. I think those are juiced
Yeah,
up numbers. I'm not gonna lie. I saw one site that put him at 5'9", and if it's like anywhere in between, he might even be 5'8". Like
yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
pretty typical Dubas pick, skill player.
Yeah. So Ty Voit, fifth round pick, 153rd overall. He's actually from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He played for the Sarnia Sting though in the OHL. It's hard to get a read on this guy because the last time he played in like an organized game in front of fans' eyes, I'm sure his scouts have been able to see him at skates or whatever the case may be, but in front of fans' eyes, he was 2 years ago pre-COVID when Sarnia Sting were last in the OHL and his season got cut short. That season, he had 28 points, 8 goals, 20 assists, and 49 games played, but he was a rookie in the OHL. So it's kind of hard to make that determination on him, but I don't know. He does really just fit into the Leafs pattern. And even these like scouting reports on him, creative and unexpected offensive patterns like Mitch Marner, Nick Robertson, Rodion Amirov, Semyon Durag, and Chinsev. Like, yeah, like it just falls into everyone else that they've got here. And like the thing is that it's hard to see guys like that get picked, especially by the Leafs, and think that their trajectory couldn't just end up, not on a Mitch Marner scale, and I'm not saying that, but like in that level, not in that Marner level, but like, yeah, they're just going to continue along to be a really super skilled player who's like really fast and really offensive and contributes and creates plays, and that's going to be their trajectory, and maybe they'll make it to the NHL and be an impact player, but like, if nothing else, they're going to be exactly as their scouting report reads.
I think that tough hockey's making a little bit of a return, and power forwards more than any other position, I guess position playing style on the ice are making a big time return. And like you look at the Capitals run, how important Tom Wilson was. They basically hooked the guy up with a Brinks truck after to keep him in Washington.
Yeah.
And then you look at the hero for the Canadians being Josh Anderson. Like these guys really come out and be playoff difference makers. When we see guys like Goudreau, like Marner, who are supposed to be like spectacular, who really can't do anything in the clutch, especially when it becomes a physical game. So I'm just looking at it like, I don't think this kid is going to be anything special. Like, first off, congrats to Voit. Like, I'm happy to, welcome him to the team. Not trying to put out negative energy or anything like that, but on just a real level, I don't think that Voit is ever going to put on a Leafs jersey. Like, that's just he wasn't that impressive in his rookie season. He got some bad luck with the pandemic, like the whole draft class did, but too many prototypical Leafs players look and sound like that. And he got picked up a little later than some of the ones who have worked out. I'm kind of ready to write this kid off right at the bat, to be completely honest. Maybe that makes me, a bad guy for doing that, but that's just my gut instinct. That's the way I've been trained being a Toronto fan. I don't think that one's going to work, but hyped about Knies.
As far as Voit goes and like writing him off, I don't know if I can reach that level. I do understand where you're coming from on it though, in terms of like, is this guy really going to make an impact? He's a 5th round pick, 5'10". He didn't put up crazy numbers in his rookie season. He didn't get to play last year. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty there, and there's a lot of pattern in terms of we've already seen all these guys come through, and they were picked higher rounds, and Nick Robertson still hasn't gotten in lineup. Rodion Amirov hasn't gotten in the lineup. Like, you see these guys, man, and just say, like, okay, yeah, they haven't played yet, so, like, can this guy make any kind of difference? Will he be any different? The thing is, though, for me, 5th round pick, like, what are we really missing out on? If we took this guy in the 2nd round, 3rd round, you're probably looking at it like, okay, like, is he a guy that we want to make that pick on that right there? But to take him in the 5th round, it's less risk. Like, there's only 2 rounds left after this. They obviously see something in him. Having not seen him last year, you're really taking a whim on this guy. And, like, a lot of other players are in a very, like, similar circumstance. They didn't get to play last year. Missed out on that opportunity to showcase what they had. So I don't think it's, like, too egregious to take this guy. But, yeah. I do at least I see where you're saying. I don't think it's like ridiculous to go down that path. I just not at the point of being like, never ever will we see him. And maybe he'll just be a Marley. You never know. Maybe he'll be a piece that gets moved on to play with somebody else and could be a valuable piece. But I see what you're saying, like not a Leafs jersey.
Yeah, man. Maybe he could prove his worth as a tradable asset that we trade out of an AHL contract and he goes and makes a difference somewhere else, or just goes into the A and he's part of a bigger deal that lands us a player or a pick that we really need. Mm-hmm. That could happen. But to see him directly making an impact in a Leafs jersey, I bet you right now we never see it. But that's just a really pessimistic, terrible take. But that's my flaming hot take of the draft here. Maybe not so flaming hot, but I'm going to stand by that one.
All right, and then the last guy that the Leafs picked in this draft, this one I feel like neither of us are going to have the most insight on. Neither of us are really goalie guys in general, and then just a kid coming out of Russia is like harder to get a read on, someone who hasn't played that much in the past 2 seasons, but it's the guy, again, going to just absolutely butcher this name, 6th round pick, 185th overall, Vyacheslav Peksa. I'm going to find out it's completely different. Like, if that's not how you say it. You pronounce the V
Sounds
as like
pretty
an
good.
X or something, and it's going to be like so off the board. But for now, Vyacheslav Peksa, that's the best that I can do on that. He's from Magnitogorsk, Russia. He's 6'2", 163-pound goaltender. He played in the MHL, which is like the junior league to the KHL, essentially. 17 games played, 2.57 goals against average, .909 save percentage, and an 8-5-2 record in the MHL. Do you have much to say on this pick here, Goody?
I definitely don't mind it. Like, goalies take forever to pan out, so it's like we planted the seed now. We'll watch it slowly grow over the years, and then some years down the line, we'll be like, "Oh shit, we still have this guy in the system. Like, this is unreal." And then he'll be pretty close to ready then. And I actually, his numbers, they're solid.
Yeah.
I personally think he sounds like a decent prospect, but again, I don't have a ton of insight into what Pex has been up to.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't know overly much about goalies. Like, I'm no goalie expert. You watch the NHL and you can tell which goalies are good and which goalies are going to be good as they come up. But it's more so once they get to that pro level, you can kind of start to determine what guys' trajectories are. But still, guys like Jordan Binnington come out of the woodworks and prove you wrong all the time. So it just happens. But as far as it goes, like, I like the Leafs adding goaltending depth to the prospect pool here, because it's something that we've mentioned. Like, they haven't really had too many star-studded guys coming through here that we can look at and be like, that guy will be a Leaf this day, that guy will be a Leaf this day. And as Vyacheslav, we don't know that he will or won't be a guy, but again, like you said, goalies take longer to pan out. They take a longer maturity process, and they take longer to develop to that point of being able to compete at the NHL or the pro level. So you give this guy some time, you never know. Pekka Rinne was drafted strictly based on a scout seeing him in warm-up. I don't know if that's something you knew, but like, a scout went over there to watch another goaltender and another player on the team play, and was told to watch this kid in warm-up, and saw Pekka Rinne warming up and said, we have to draft that guy. And this guy just retired after an incredible NHL career, so you never really know with these goaltenders.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But hey, Pekka, man,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
we'll get the same kind of deal.
I like it. Well, I think that about does it for our draft recap. Zack Hyman moves on. That's kind of the only news that's come out as of recent. As more things pop up here, we will come back on here. We will break them down. We'll talk about some more rumors circling around. We'll try to put out some more pods as the free agency comes up here. Maybe some guys the Leafs need to target, some guys the Leafs need to avoid. You never know about those. And then more guys that move on from this team. Nick Foligno still hasn't determined whether or not he'll come back. Zack Hyman is gone. Zach Bogosian, we don't know about. All signs are pointing to him leaving the Leafs come next season, but you never really know. Guys could surprise us and sign back here. So things are exciting around the Leafs, and as free agency approaches here, it's gonna get spicy. Things are gonna get interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. So Leafs fans, see you guys soon. Keep believing.
Signing off.